Yo guys, this is Reinhardt, it's your favorite Russian talking, and today we're gonna be talking about the Skyforge, the introduction video to Skyforge. In this video, first of all, what I'm gonna say is I do have a 12k prestige. I have Necromancer fully unlocked for my PvP build. There's a few things that still left to unlock. I did work on the Session Atlas, and I'm actually, I would say, kind of knowledgeable about the game. I also have cousins who are working library for this game who played on the Russian servers with a 250 ms for about 4 months. So they know what stats and everything else, so I have a decent knowledge of the game. So with that said, what are we going to be talking about this game? Well, we're going to be talking about, first of all, what kind of game it is, the fluidity of the movement, the combat system, the class design, the talents, the progression, the leveling. And the last question that everybody kept asking, is this a free-to-play game? Is this a pay-to-win game, pay-to-progress game, or is it pay-to-cosmetic games, or how the hell do these people make money in general? So we're gonna be talking about that. So first of all, what I want to address is the fluidity of the combat. The fluidity of the movement itself in this game is absolutely fantastic. The game feels very fluid in its game mechanics. The movements feels very nice. And if we take a WoW, for example, which has probably the most and the best fluid movements possible, then this game is actually very close to WoW. If we played in Guild Wars 2, the game was pretty fluid, but you would feel like you were always backpedaling in that game. And in here, you don't really feel that much as well. Here, the combat system essentially is designed a little bit differently. The game designed essentially around you trying to avoid as much damage or use your abilities to the best of your knowledge to mitigate as much of the damage. Now, while you want to say in World of Warcraft it's the same thing, in World of Warcraft you have a fail-safe which always can be healed back through, while here you don't. Properly used defensives are detrimental in this game. Properly used offensives are detrimental in this game. And this game is less forgiving than compared to World of Warcraft, where in World of Warcraft, if you mess up your rotation, it's fine. You can play defensive wait till your trinkets are back up, wait till your main burst back up, and go at it again. In this game, you don't have the trinkets. Well, because you don't have the trinkets that proc ridiculous stats, essentially what happens is the game is built more around the sustained damage for sustained damage dealers, the burst around the burst damage dealers, but there are no trinkets. So you essentially do the same damage across the board. You do have some offensive cooldowns like everybody else does, but around it you still have a good amount of chunk of sustained damage that you have to build through. So while you're popping your cooldowns and everything else, different classes have a different mechanics. For example, if we take a Frost Mage, which is a Cryomancer in this game, the Cryomancer is built more about the avoidance of the damage. It literally, Cryomancer has a great control, great avoidance, but when it comes to actual tankiness, Cryomancer is one of the squishiest. So when we fight a few Cryomancers, they were a nightmare to kill. They kite it very well, they use their cooldowns very well, they use their in-game dash, the dash system, the more of reactive, pretty well as well. So, and they were very nightmarish to kill. While on the other hand, most of the Cryomancers are just a food for me and my fellow Facade members. So with that said, yeah, I like that part of the game. I like that the smart choices may yields a smart rewards instead of have a kind of a fail-safe system essentially. And I like that the game is based more around the sustained damage than actual trinket burst damage itself. While there are some classes that do massive amount of burst damage, and like I will say, first of all, this game released before the Russian balancing patches comes out that balances around a lot around this game. While that hasn't been released yet, the game does feel absolutely amazing. But there are some balancing issues. For example, the Rogue kind of feel a little bit strong, Berserker kind of does for me, and also a Lightbinder as well. I kind of noticed 3 outliers. And also Knight classes are very strong as well. So there are a few different things that kind of needed to be changed, but the good, if you have skills, if you have a good decision making and you have a good head, a good player will make a difference, essentially, in this game. And that's what I like about it. Now, if we talk about the progression of the game, there is no levels in this game, period. As you actually become stronger, you rank up your prestige. Prestige essentially is your kind of a leveling benchmark. Each week you get the specific sparks of destruction, creation, and balance, and also sparks of evolution or your own class sparks. For your own class sparks, you develop your own class itself, no matter which one you pick. For the other sparks, you mostly dump them into the atlas, and you either work towards unlocking your main characters, unlocking the few classes that you want to try. For example, I want to try in-game warlock. You also unlock it via basically like unlock a specific little talents and the symbol slots, and I'm gonna get back to it in just a moment. And that's the idea. You get certain amount of points of those per week, and what happens is it's kind of levels itself out. Now, to cap those doesn't take a long time. It usually takes about 1 or 2 days for a non-subscriber who doesn't put any money into the game at all whatsoever. On the other hand, the subscribers do get some perks, but not to the pay-to-win model. So, with that said, let's talk a little bit about the progression. Think about it this way. What if in World of Warcraft just released, and let's say they put it so the first week your level cap is 20. The second week your level cap is 30, 40, and so on and so forth. And you keep progressing your character that way. Or maybe 20, 25, 30, 35, and so on. To the point you reach the cap. Well, the way they made it is that while there is a leveling cap, you don't feel hindered. For example, my Necro is fully unlocked, and the only thing I have left to unlock is the actual Atlas and some of the symbols and the passive abilities from here. On the other hand, having that cap kind of makes you actually feel like you are not constrained to just bum rush all the content right away. Consume as much as content as you possibly can, and just live there, have nothing else to do. The smart cap in that case, I actually like it. I'm usually not a big fan of caps, but this one makes a lot more sense. Once you reach your maximum amount of sparks, you get the maximum level of proficiency. Proficiency is how good of a gear can you actually wear. So mine is 656, for example. So with that said, I can still throughout the week develop my character, get the max gear possible, and own people in PvP. But on the other hand, it comes when the new week comes out, the new cap comes out. I'm gonna start just like everybody else. I'll just have a small slight advantage. Think about it this way. Think about it as a Warlords of Draenor release. It's like mini expansion every single week that improves your character, unlocks more zones, and so on and so forth. Cool thing about the PvE here though is that all the dungeons and everything else have a really good scaling system. The more you kill the dungeons, the harder they become. The higher your prestige, the harder the dungeon scale as well. And PvE in this game is actually somewhat challenging. Now, it's talking from the nerd who actually tanked and DPS most of the high-end dungeon 5-man group content possibly provided by the game. And I've done all of that. We wipe every now and then, but it's not that difficult. On the other hand, we had a lot of people already start complaining that the dungeons are too hard and it's too unnecessary hard and they should make it easier. And kudos to the actual Skyforge, my.com, or whoever the developers are for not making it easy, because I don't like it to be easy. I like it to be challenging. I like it so you actually recognize for the skill set that you bring to the table and to the game itself. So that's the actual cap. Now, the biggest question, is the game pay to win or is the game pay to progress? Well, a few different things that I have to notice you. That if you are absolutely not gonna put a single penny into the game, while I have a lot of fun in this game and I dumped a good amount of money into it, nobody has to do it. But if you absolutely don't want to spend a single penny into the game, how limited are you? Well, first of all, the premium account is a subscription account. It actually gives you, as you can see, more resources dropped. Now, these resources don't affect your weekly cap, it just affects how fast you can cap out. So, if it takes me 8 hours to cap out all my color sparks, the non-subscriber will take 12 hours to cap out, which is perfectly fine, because essentially the way it works is I still play the shit out of this game after I get my cap, so it doesn't really affect me. So the premium account, there is a small benefits, but you're not gonna be at disadvantage at any point in time. On the other hand, there is a little donate button in the game where you can buy the actual crystals, and with those crystals you can sell them for credits, and then you can use the credits to develop your own garrison and pretty much bum rush it. So what will that do for you? Essentially, your garrison in this game gives you actual stats, and you get to pick which stats you want to do: more crit damage, more sustained damage, or whatever of your choices here. The thing you have to guys kind of realize here that while it is there, and yes, people who actually do donate and do get the crystals and do sell their crystals for the credits and use those credits to develop their order will get their order faster. But as a premium non-subscriber member, if you don't procrastinate and you don't become a potato, you actually can maximize yourself perfectly fine, okay? The first week I did it all by myself. I'm almost kept it out, and I was actually missing quite a few things here and there. The second week I decided to bum rush it because I got just too lazy. But for the person who doesn't have are not lazy, can do it. So basically the way it works is the paying in this game will make the game kind of progress faster, but progressing faster doesn't mean progressing better. Essentially, the people who pay for this game a lot can fuck up their atlas, and I've seen them do it so many times, can completely fuck up their atlas to the point where they have to go around and they have to waste a lot of time. And then the free-to-play members actually did everything on point, very good research. Again, smart brain over bros, or brain over Benjamins, so to say. So that said, it's not pay-to-win model, but you can progress a little bit faster on one small category. But essentially, I'm not sure if in the future they will release any patch that make it pay-to-win or not, but so far the game does not feel like pay-to-win. Now let's talk a little bit about the combat system and customization itself. The combat is fluid, the movements are fluid. There is no casting in this game, and there is some minor casting, I would say. But what makes the game is actually kind of a challenging. For example, as a range caster, I have to build up 3 different attacks. So for me to apply my main dot, and by the way, look at the dot animation. One attack, wait a sec, goes too far. 1 attack, 2 attack, right click. So left, right, I'll put a dot. This is actually legitimately a dot on a target. So what happens is I have to do 3 attacks, which takes me about 2 seconds to apply that. During that time, I can be interrupted at any point in time. So in this game, it's less about interrupting the cast times. You can still interrupt it, but there's no effective interrupt. You just have to do a pseudo interrupt, like a stun or something. While there are no stuns essentially in this game, I mean, there's no interrupts in the game. There's multiple other CCs too. All the CCs have cooldowns, no spawnable CCs whatsoever. But you do have, instead of casting, this build up time where you have to build up your attacks based on the combinations. And if you look at my class, for example, my AoE dot that I put on the target requires left, right click. If I do left, right click, I put up my massive dot that does a good amount of damage. So the game in that sense is awesome. In terms of character customization, you have your glyphs and you can pick out which abilities you can pick. And for my necromancer, I have these abilities right here. I have my summoning stance and I have my lich stance. Now, while some people say, well, you know, this does not look like you have a lot of buttons to press. Well, I kind of have to beg to differ. If my Decay has about 7 buttons to press during his rotation, including Soul Reaper, Death and Decay and everything else, my Necromancer has left combo, which is 1, left right, right, which is 3 combos. Plus I have number 1, number 2, so 3 combos plus 5 already. So I have 5 abilities, damaging abilities. I have 3 different summons, and I have 2 different rotations here. So besides my summoning, essentially, because we're not going to put that, I have about roughly 7 button rotation on my Lich alone. And that's besides the major cooldowns. So with that said, there is a plenty of complexity rotation in this game itself. And that's where me personally having a huge orgasm in the game. So with that said, the game does a wonderful job, and that's what I say, that it does not hold its player base by the hand and say, you poor little boy, this monster told you that you're not pretty and you suck at the game. And instead of, basically, here's the thing about the game. The more you play the game, the more you want to become better at the game. You don't want to regurgitate the same content and the same low skill levels. each player, the idea of a MMO is developing your character, developing through either in-game content, abilities, or equipment, or the other way is becoming simply better at the game. For example, me, when I started playing my Necromancer, boy, I sucked at it. But as I got better, a lot of people asked me to group up with them. Actually, they said like, dude, you are 3 times the Necromancer than the other guy. And that made me feel good because I put an effort into maximizing my skills as a Necro class, and I got rewarded for that. So, with that said, that's what I like about it. It's not such thing as, well, if the game proves to be too challenging for a player, the developers are not gonna nerf the game. They're gonna say, hey, it's a skill issue, go learn it. Okay, so I like it. I like when the people go to forums and whine about PvE being so hard right now, while I'm just plummeting through it like there's no tomorrow because of either my experience or I used to rate heroic content. I like that. I like that, hey, the dungeons are done here not to just steamroll through everything and feel good about yourself. No, it's about providing you with a good challenge, and for the good challenge you get good rewards. So if I'm capped out on my level and I go do a good challenging dungeons, guess what? I'll get better rewards, I'll get better gear, I'll be better in terms of better equipped than the next guy. So, and while that guy can whine all he wants how the life is unfair, I took my time to actually develop, research this game, get better, get some skills going, and have people constantly messaging me for the parties. And I like that. I like that the people who actually put effort into becoming better at the game can become better at the game. And I think that's where the more you play the game, the better you essentially become at the game, kind of takes in play. While you are limited each week to how much you can progress your character in terms of like a weekly cap on your sparks, you still can develop your character, you can still develop the skills, and you can become a better character in general, or a better class. With that said, last I want to say is the cool thing I like about this game is that your Accession Atlas, essentially there are no alts in this game. You just create one character and that's it. But your character can get any class they could possibly want. Period. And that's awesome. So you're not limited to your class. If you're, let's say, running in 3s and each class have a different synergy with the other class. If I'm running with Berserker, I like running my Necromancer and actually liking putting my AoE Fear on top of the Berserker pulls. And me actually having Berserker get somebody below 50% HP so I can finish them off much easier. On the other hand, if I'm running not with a Berserker but with Kinetic, I'll probably start leveling my Cryomancer and try the Cryomancer as well. So with that said, yes, there are more flexibility in terms of what you can play, but it will take with time. So for those people who expect everything to be given to them right away because they're such a special snowflake, I don't recommend this game. But for the actual general gamers who are curious about the video games, who don't feel entitled to have the game be easy for them just so they could feel better about themselves, to the gamers who actually like challenge and like to actually kind of get involved with the game, understand how the game runs, get better at the game, I recommend this game in a whole heartbeat. Personally, this game is for me for that main reason. Developers create a huge orgasmic mathematics here as well. They don't fuck up their math, and the game feels fluent, the combat feels great, and the abilities and the creativity of each class is there as well. Each class feels completely unique. No homogenization at all whatsoever. So I want to see where the game takes it. I want to see the Russian balancing patch come out sooner. I am looking at some of these balances in PvP, but it happens in every single MMO out there, and there's no such thing as a perfect MMO. So, with that said, hopefully you guys enjoyed this quick review, or not a so quick review. Let me know what you guys think. I'm gonna make an introduction to Necromancer video very soon, explaining how the class works and everything else. And on top of it, I'm gonna have basically cool guides coming out for the PvE content as well, made by some person. Stay tuned, and I'll see you guys later. До свидания.